What is up, everyone? Ryan here. Today we are talking Klaviyo flows, and specifically 7 of the best Klaviyo flows to grow your automated email revenue. So obviously tons of different flows and automations you can build in Klaviyo. These 7 though are 7 of the most popular, 7 of the most effective, and in my experience working on many different brands of all different kinds of sizes in all different markets, these are flows which almost every brand can benefit from in some way. So we're going to look at how to set them up. We're going to have a look at some example emails, how it actually looks in Klaviyo, and we're going to quickly go through each one, and we will make more detailed videos on each one of these flows as well if you want to dive deeper into each one. And if you really want to get all the information and know all the little tricks to get the best possible results from your Klaviyo automations, check out our detailed Klaviyo course, info in the description, along with our agency and consulting services for Klaviyo too. Let's look at the first flow and help you grow your automated revenue. We're going to start off with the welcome series. Generally, this is going to be the highest volume flow in most cases for most brands, and that's both in terms of the number of people who see it and also the sales revenue that it generates. It's also going to be the first email series that a lot of people see from your brand, so it's a way to make a good first impression. The welcome flow, we'll take a look at the setup in a minute, but it's generally going to be powered by pop-ups or some kind of lead capture event where you're getting an email address from someone and they're coming into your Klaviyo account, into your brand for the first time, and you're sending them a series of welcome emails. They're generally a non-buyer, and the goal is to get them to make their first purchase. You might have seen a lot of screenshots like this, like people show these Klaviyo stats with like these super impressive numbers and things like that. A lot of the time this is from the first email in the welcome flow, because people are opting in for a coupon to say get a discount on their first order, so they're ready to buy. And you know, everybody's opening the email, a lot of people are clicking through and buying. So if you see like these crazy like screenshots of like, oh, look at this campaign, a lot of the time it's just the first email in the welcome flow. And you know, this isn't particularly impressive for that email. Like this is pretty average in terms of how it looks for the customer. So this is a diagram from our course, by the way, where we break down in detail how to do all of the variations of all of these different flows. So generally you've got some kind of lead capture event. So it could be a pop-up, it could be like a footer bar, it could be some kind of lead generation quiz where you're capturing emails for the first time. We'll take a look at that a little bit later in more detail. You could be running ads to a landing page. Either you're targeting warm traffic or cold traffic, getting them onto a list and sending a welcome flow. Generally, all these people are going into like a master email list or a couple of different lists, your different segments. And then depending on how you're doing lead capture, you might send everybody one welcome flow or one welcome sequence, or you might have a bunch of different welcome sequences. So you probably have one for if you're doing like 10% off your first order, that is going to be a different welcome sequence to someone that opts in for like a lead magnet or fills out a quiz or something like that. But today we're going to have a look at the most basic, most common form. So in terms of how it looks, this is generally what happens. We've got the lead capture event here, whatever you're using. They will get some kind of welcome email immediately that is super relevant to what they opted in for. So if they completed a quiz, you want to give them their quiz results and an offer. If they opted in for 15% off the first order, obviously you're going to give them that. If you did some kind of ebook or lead magnet campaign, the start of the welcome flow is going to give them exactly, you know, the thing that they opted in for. And then after that, over the course of 1 to 2 weeks, generally you want 3 to 6 emails, something like that is average, with a day or two gap in between. And the goal is to take these new subscribers, who are in most cases not customers, and give them everything they need to have the confidence to be able to make their first purchase with you and overcome their objections, answer any questions and things like that. So the initial email gets sent out immediately when someone opts in. Maybe one day later, you might tell them something about your brand. This is our story. These are our principles. This is why we launch these products. You know, a lot of time it can be attached to the founder. And then if people are not buying during this process, you wait 1 or 2 days and send them these other emails. And these can be a lot of different things, but some examples would be, you know, a bestsellers email. You know, here's what customers usually buy on their first purchase with us. particularly helpful if you have a wide product range and people don't know where to start. You could do some kind of social proof. So, here's what our best customers are saying. Here's a bunch of reviews. Here's stuff that we're doing on our social channels. Here's things that customers are posting about us. You might want to do some kind of education. So if you're in a market that has a lot of questions, people need to do a lot of research, you might want to do buying guides, educational blog posts, things like that. And then you might include some kind of other special offer in here. If somebody didn't purchase after getting like the 15% off offer or whatever that might be. And then this can really carry on as long as you want. You can just keep sending evergreen content and offers and things like that. I've seen people do welcome sequences that go on for weeks or months. Not necessarily recommended in most situations, but generally you want 3 to 6 emails over the course of 1 to 2 weeks. That is going to cover all of the main reasons that someone wouldn't buy from you, and just try and give them all of the information they need to make that first purchase. Now, in terms of the emails themselves, these are classic examples of that first email in the welcome sequence. So the most common way that someone's going to enter this sequence is they're going to give you an email in return for some kind of discount on their first order. A lot of brands might just do a newsletter sign up or some kind of content piece or free shipping if they don't do coupons. But generally, the first email is going to be a coupon email for most brands. So $25 off the first order here, a specific welcome offer here, 20% off, 15% off. And you can see some of these use generic codes. Some of these use dynamic coupon codes, which you can do with Klaviyo and Shopify and some other e-commerce platforms. Definitely recommend the dynamic codes if you can do them. And this is going to be, probably the single highest volume flow email in your Klaviyo account for most brands in terms of number of people that see it, or at least the number of purchases and the amount of revenue that it generates. So these are all pretty standard email one in the welcome sequence that would have like these really high stats like I showed earlier. And then as you go through later on in the flow, this is the sort of thing that you're going to be sending. So if you remember just now, we said we want to send 3 to 6 emails over 1 to 2 weeks and give people other pieces of information about the brand that could encourage them to make the first purchase. So here we've got some social proof emails, like this is what customers are saying. Same again here. All of these are great to include in a welcome sequence. Here we've got more of like, here's about the brand, welcome to the family. Here's our ethos. Here's like, why we launched the brand, our mission, that kind of thing. We've got mission here, our promise. So these are like examples of brands trying to differentiate themselves. This is why we do what we do, and really trying to build a bit of relationship, try and resonate with customers or potential customers who care about the same things, and really show that, yeah, you're a legit brand that has some kind of mission or purpose or reason for existing, and try and encourage people to make that first purchase. Now, if we want to look at how the actual Klaviyo flow would look in a platform for a basic welcome series, it's going to be something like this. So someone's going to subscribe to, your newsletter list or whatever list you're putting people into when they first join the brand from a pop-up or, some other way of coming in. They're going to get that first email immediately. A day or two later, let's say we do a brand story. Another day later, some bestsellers. 1 or 2 days later, social proof email, and then maybe some educational content, maybe some other offers, maybe, hey, your welcome offer is expiring, that kind of thing. So these gaps can kind of be whatever, 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, and the content of these emails can obviously switch out. And generally, you want someone to keep going through this flow until they make a purchase. And then when they make a purchase, they'll be taken out of this, and they'll kind of just go into your regular campaigns or your post-purchase campaigns and things like that, which we will go through later in this video. So that is a very basic welcome flow setup. And like I said before, you can have multiple of these. So you might have a welcome flow for somebody that comes in through your pop-ups, from somebody that comes in through a quiz, a lead magnet, or a handful of other ways that people can enter your Klaviyo account and enter your brand for the first time. Okay, so next up is checkout abandonment or cart abandonment. Now, these are actually two slightly different flows, but the terms get interchanged and kind of used like the same thing. They're actually not, and we'll cover that in a second, but today we'll be dealing with checkout abandonment, as it's the most common one, the highest converting one, and if you're using the Klaviyo defaults, it is the one that you'll be setting up as default inside Klaviyo, which we'll look at in a second. So this is a high converting flow designed to recover lost sales during the checkout process. This is done by reminding customers what's in their cart, overcoming any objections they might have, and potentially including a discount code somewhere in the sequence. You can either do that or not. So this is people that are dropping out the buying process. They've got some way through entering their payment details, their email, their name and address, and all of that. And if they haven't completed that after a couple of hours, we're going to send the standard recovery email, and that is usually going to be a sequence with a goal of getting them to come back. In terms of some examples, there's a few different ways you can do this. So on the left and in the middle, we have like product specific or category specific abandonment. So here, this email, the Everlane email, is specifically targeted to this item. So somebody was looking at this product, it's been in their cart, and they're calling that out a couple of hours later, emailing someone saying, hey, you were looking at this, here's why it's great, here's the picture, here's the price, and the copy, and everything is actually personalized to this product. So this is a great thing to do if you have a certain number of bestsellers, like high volume products that are really like your hero products. You can build specific cart abandonment campaigns for those, and we actually go through how to do that in detail in the course. And then the same for Adidas or Adidas here, depending on where you're from. Again, this is specific for either this shoe or like this shoe collection. So specific images, copy around this specific shoe, and then ideally you'd have reviews and like social proof that's relevant to this specific product as well. And then over on the right-hand side, this is more of a generic one where there's no really personalization in terms of calling out the specific products, but maybe in this case, the brand has a narrow product range and these points here kind of apply to everything they sell, and they just want to send a generic abandonment email to get somebody back to the site and back to their cart. And you can see here they're using a coupon code, which is a generic code, and these emails are not using a code, so they might be earlier on in the cart abandonment sequence. Many different ways you can set these up. You can have one template that just changes dynamically. You can have a few different sequences, or a sequence with a whole bunch of different branches for like different bestsellers or different categories and things like that, and really dial in your cart abandonment messaging to be as specific as possible. And that is going to get you the highest conversion rates. So in terms of looking at it in Klaviyo, this is how the flow would look. Just made a few changes from the standard one. This will be a pretty generic checkout abandonment flow. And you can see the default naming is actually abandoned cart, but it is abandoned checkout. And what that means is abandoned checkout is somebody who's actually got into the payment process. They're, the screen where you enter your credit card information, your address, they've abandoned from that page, rather than the abandoned cart, which is a step earlier in the funnel where somebody has added something to their cart, but they haven't actually got to the checkout yet. You can actually run those two kind of at the same time, and you will get a little bit of extra incremental revenue from adding the abandoned cart as well as the checkout. But right now we're talking abandoned checkout. So somebody starts the checkout process, we have a 2-hour delay. If they haven't made an order after 2 hours, we're going to send email 1. And again, this can be a specific email that is calling out the collection or the product they're trying to buy specifically, or it could just be a dynamic template that updates with what they were looking at. Don't recommend to use a discount in the first email. It's generally not needed to still see a pretty good result from abandoned cart. And if somebody hasn't come back and completed that purchase, a day later, we typically send another email. And if you want to start introducing discounts, this is one place you can do it, or you can do it in a final third email, again delivered 1 day later. 2 or 3 emails is pretty good for abandoned cart, abandoned checkout, at least for abandoned checkout. And different ways you can build these in terms of content. You're going to want social proof in there. If possible, you're going to want to highlight things like free shipping, any USPs you have. Ideally, you're going to want something that calls out what the customer was actually buying. And again, this can be done with one sequence, with a whole bunch of sequences. You can use coupons, not use coupons, dynamic coupons versus static coupons. The more granular you get, the higher conversion rates you're gonna get. But this is like the most basic cart abandonment setup right here. And the more advanced ones we do cover in detail in the course. So next up is browse abandonment. This is another, very consistent performer as a Klaviyo flow that I like to see pretty much every brand implement. You can think of this as similar to like retargeting ads that you get online, but just done via email channel. So someone's looking at a product and then you're trying to remind them and get them to come back and buy it. So we're basically emailing people who have browsed specific products or collections, but didn't start the checkout process, and giving them a gentle reminder to come back and buy. And discounts are not recommended for this flow. So this is, again, a similar concept to or checkout abandonment, but it's one step further back in the funnel, so it's much higher volume. To qualify for this flow, all you need to do is come to an e-commerce site. If they have already your email address, you browse a product page. They could then send you a reminder a couple hours later, even though you haven't added it to your cart. In terms of the structure, somebody abandons the product page, so they view a product without buying. 1 to 4 hours later, Klaviyo checks, hey, has this person come and made a purchase yet? If not, they can get browse abandonment email 1, which we'll look at in a second. Generally recommended not to use a discount. And if you want to send another email, a day or two later, if they still haven't made a purchase, you can do that. A lot of brands will just use one email for browse abandonment because it can be pretty high volume flow. In terms of the types of emails, there's more of like a generic email or a highly personalized email, which shows somebody exactly what they were looking at. So in this case, the perfect keto example on the left, this could very well be a browse abandonment email for two situations. Either they have this bundle as a product on the site and somebody's looked at this page and haven't purchased, or it could be more of a generic site abandonment campaign where, people could be looking at all different kinds of things and they want to push this as the new customer offer. Like if someone abandons product pages and they haven't bought before, they might say, hey, like we have this amazing bundle right now, why don't you come back and buy? This is examples of how this could be used as browse abandonment. Here, this would be like a dynamic email where the content generally is replaced by what the person was looking at most recently or what they spent the most time looking at. So this person here would be looking at this shirt and they're saying, hey, this is what you were looking at earlier, come back and buy. And this image just updates on the fly. And then Forever 21, this could either be the product grid here could be a collection of the different products that somebody has been looking at. They've been looking at, 5 or 6 different products over the course of their session. This could potentially be all of the items that they were looking at, or this could be items from like a particular collection that they were looking at. So a number of ways to do browse abandonment. And again, I feel that most brands will benefit from setting this up. It converts well. It's pretty high volume and pretty easy to set up. Now, in terms of how it looks in Klaviyo, if you just want to do the basic version, it's a very simple setup. So you're going to have one flow. 2 hours later, somebody's going to get a dynamic email that is going to populate with the product or the products they were looking at, and it's just going to be one template, one email. And if you really wanted to break this down and get higher conversions, you could set these up on a category level where you could have more static templates with copy about a specific category, specific product range, and you can even do that per product for your bestsellers or any really high volume items. And again, we show exactly how to do that in detail in the course, but this is like the basic browse abandonment setup that will still get you like pretty good results. One email, dynamic template delivered a couple hours later with some filters on to check that nobody has come back and purchased and that they haven't received, this email already, like today or in the last few days or something like that. Okay, so next up we have the post-purchase flow, which is important because it really sets the first impression after somebody has made their first order with you or a repeat order. So these are sent after the order confirmations. I'm not going to cover order confirmation emails in this video because a lot of people use different apps for those, or their e-commerce platforms do them, even though they can be sent with Klaviyo. The post-purchase flow starts after the order confirmations have been sent. So you really want to make the customer feel good, thank them for their order. You might give them a specific offer, and then you want to kind of teach them something a little bit more about the brand and really just give them a feel-good experience between the time that they make that purchase and maybe like 5 or 7 days later when they actually get the order in the mail. So post-purchase flow is going to be one or more emails sent after a customer orders and receives their confirmation. Sequence starts. The post-purchase experience is great for reinforcing the buying decision and reducing buyer's remorse before something arrives in the mail. You can include offers, cross-sells, upsells, and things like that in this flow, or you can keep it short and do the cross-sells and things like that in separate flows, which we'll be covering in a second. Post-purchase flow is really an important one for making customers feel good and letting them know what to expect. So a few example emails here of things that you can do in the post-purchase phase. So pretty classic, just text-based thank you email here, kind of like signed from the founder. We've got a welcome offer here for people to come back and make another purchase with a discount. Here are a whole bunch of stuff about the brand, get on the socials, and really just thanking them for the order. Really kind of making people feel good about what they've just purchased here. And this is a great way to really give the customer a good experience, and a welcome offer here as well. Like I said, you want this sequence to be a couple of emails. You can split it up between new and returning customers, and really just get that buying experience started on the right foot. And then I like to do my cross-selling and upselling and things like that later on in different flows, generally after someone is expected to have received the product that they've just purchased. So this is what a pretty standard post-purchase kind of thank you sequence would look like in Klaviyo. We have an hour delay, so give someone a bit of time to receive the order confirmations. And then we have two branches, one for new customers, one for existing. Thank them, either thank them for their first purchase, thank them for their loyalty, try to get them on other social channels, engaging with you in different ways. Let them know what to expect, include unboxing videos, things like that. And if you want to increase an offer in here to try and get people coming back as quickly as possible to make another purchase, then you can certainly do that. All right, next up is cross-sell flows. This is where things get pretty interesting and where you see a lot of variation between brands. So many different strategies that you can do, so many different ways that you can set these up to increase your LTV and increase your repeat purchase rate. So generally cross-sell flows, it's going to be one or more flows designed to recommend relevant products to customers based on what they recently purchased. Usually time to start sending after the previous order is being delivered. And these flows are great for increasing repeat purchase rates and LTV. Can be constructed in many, many different ways depending on the brand. So the ideal setup for a cross-sell flow experience is if I purchase, a product today, I receive it in a week's time, then, a couple of days later, I get a specific product recommendation that's super relevant to the thing that I just bought, and then maybe I get a few more in the days after that. So the more specific you can be with these, the better. And that can get challenging to do when you have, big product catalogs. Now, a couple of examples of how this can be done. The top here, let's say you're kind of like a skincare brand or whatever. You have your number one selling product or your number one selling product in a category, which is a moisturizing category. You're probably going to want to set up a specific post-purchase cross-sell flow for this one item. So someone's going to buy, you're going to wait 5 days for them to receive the order, 7 days for them to use it and hopefully like it. And then maybe after that, you want to send them a specific cross-sell sequence for other products that go well with this one specifically. So it might be a night cream and then a few days later something else, then some other kind of offer or a bundle or whatever. And this is going to be set up specifically just for people that buy this item. So you know that everyone that buys this moisturizer is then going to go down this sequence over the following weeks of product recommendations that we know are relevant. It's great to do that for bestsellers. It's challenging to do it if you have a big product catalog. So you might do something for other items where it's similar to the example of at the bottom where you're going to say, all right, anybody that buys anything from our category that is running shoes that might have like 10, 20, 50 products in it, we are going to wait till they've received their order, and then we're going to cross-sell them something from a complementary category. So maybe we're going to sell them, the best sellers from our running pants or some other kind of running accessories or whatever. We know if they've bought a running shoe, there's a pretty good chance that they're going to be interested in this other collection. whether we show them the whole collection or the bestsellers or whatever. So it's good to get as granular as possible with post-purchase sequences, but you're not going to be able to do that for every product in every category in a lot of cases, or you just might not have the time and resource to do that. But one thing we do focus on getting brands to do is really making specific cross-sell post-purchase sequences for their bestsellers. And again, this is something that we cover in quite a lot of detail in the course and really break down how to do this. So some examples of what the emails could look like. Here we have specific product recommendations. Now this could be based on what somebody has just purchased, or this could just be bestsellers from the general catalog, and this could be sent to anyone that hasn't bought these before. Here is a very specific collection where they've obviously got all of these products that kind of match each other. And if somebody buys something with this pattern, then they can say, hey, we got a bunch of other stuff that's in either like the same collection that also matches, like say they bought, I don't know, like a hat or something that had this pattern. They can say, look at all this other stuff, like you can wear this matching stuff around the house or whatever. So again, we've got an obvious example of where hey, it really makes sense to recommend these products because you bought something that looks just like it. And then here we have another similar example where this brand is, I think this is Glossier. They're calling out somebody that has bought a specific item, like this boy brow product is either a product or like a small collection. They basically said, hey, like we see that you purchased this. This is another thing called Brow Flick that perfectly complements the thing that you last purchased. So again, you can do this on a specific product level, or you can do it on a category level and really have full control over the cross-sell sequence that somebody is going to see after they make a certain purchase on your site. And these are really, really powerful. And in terms of how it would look in Klaviyo, if we were just to build a single flow targeting cross-sell promotions for someone that bought a specific item, this is how it would look. There's a million different ways that can be set up, but this is the most basic way of doing a cross-sell sequence that targets like a bestseller. So if we say this product here is our bestseller, we've basically set up a trigger. Anybody that buys that, we're going to wait until the order is fulfilled, and then 2 weeks later, we're then going to start recommending products in these 2 emails only to people that have bought this. So again, it's going to be matching items, accessories, things that other people that buy this also like. And again, this could be a category, it could be a whole collection of products that could trigger this sequence. And you can have a whole bunch of these different sequences for your bestsellers and top categories. You can have a flow with a whole bunch of different branches that has filters and things like that. All different ways you can do it. Kind of gets pretty complex, but it is worth setting up, especially if you have a lot of intelligent recommendations where it really makes sense for people to be seeing a certain set of products after they buy a certain thing. So this is like the basic way to set up a product specific cross-sell sequence after the purchase. And these work really, really well. All right, next up is the VIP customer flow. Now, this is a pretty powerful Klaviyo flow because it's going to take you through the activity of segmenting out your best VIP customers that spend the most money, and you're going to start treating them a little bit different and make them feel a little bit special compared to regular customers or subscribers. So this is designed to reward loyal customers and encourage even more purchases in the future. Customers are designated as VIPs based on either their total spend or the number of purchases. And at this point, they can unlock some form of reward, like a special offer, exclusive access to new products, maybe like an exclusive customer community, free gift with order, or whatever. Generally, we're going to wait until someone hits the criteria for whatever you set for being a VIP. Maybe it's making their third order. Then we're going to send them an acknowledgement. Maybe it has an offer, maybe it doesn't. And you're going to get some good results from a VIP flow doing that. People will make purchases from the automated flow, and you'll definitely get some extra revenue from doing that. However, building this VIP segment and deciding which of your customers you want to be VIPs is pretty valuable for like your wider email program, because throughout the year, ideally, you'll be doing specific promotions that are just to your VIPs. So you might be doing early access to your sales, early access to product launches. You might be doing VIP customer events. You might do VIP only sales where like these people are the only ones that see it. So you will get some revenue from setting up the VIP flow, but from using the segment that you make for this flow, you'll open up a lot of promotional opportunities throughout the rest of the year to really get a high amount of value from your best customers and also give them like the best possible experience. So in terms of how it looks, the VIP flow will go something like this. Let's say somebody makes their third purchase with your brand. A day later, they might get like a VIP welcome email. Thanks so much, you're now qualified for our VIP program. This might be like a personal note from the founder or something like that. It may have an offer, it may not. If it does have an offer and they haven't used it, it's often going to be like an exclusive discount, a custom one. Maybe you'll send them a reminder 7 to 10 days later that they've still got this offer. And that's like a very basic VIP flow. But now we've got these people segmented out. There's all kinds of things that we can do with them throughout the rest of the year. In terms of some example VIP emails, this is a super basic version. So this is basically just acknowledging someone when they hit the VIP tier, a little bit of copy to acknowledge that. And you're giving them an offer for, a discount on their next order. You can either include that or not. But the important thing is that we're segmenting these people out and recognizing them. And this would be an example of a VIP email that could either be like switched out in the VIP flow and updated for, whichever products are relevant at a certain time of year, or this could be a one-off VIP campaign that again is just telling people, hey, you are getting a little bit of extra treatment, extra benefits for being a VIP. So in terms of how it looks in Klaviyo, this is a pretty basic VIP flow setup. We make a VIP segment. We can say, when someone makes their third order, they're now a VIP. When that happens, we add them to the segment. A day later, they get their, thank you very much, customer appreciation note from the founder email. Maybe it has an offer, maybe it doesn't. And then if you want to follow up a day later, hey, your exclusive VIP discount is still available or whatever. Maybe let them know which other perks they get for being part of your VIP program. And then you really want to build some kind of VIP schedule for like the rest of the year. What are they going to get? What early access are they going to get? What are they going to get over and above what regular customers and subscribers get? So this is a VIP flow. Is definitely worth coming up with a strategy to make your VIPs feel a little bit special compared to everybody else. So number 7 is the zero-party data flow. Now, what is zero-party data? Zero-party data is specific data collected directly from customers or subscribers, often through things like a quiz or a survey. So when you're asking them very detailed questions like, hey, which type of products are you interested in out of our range? Are you trying to solve a particular problem with your fitness or whatever? Do you have like a specific area of like our market that you like to spend money in or something like that? Which other brands do you shop with? All that wouldn't be as common. But the zero-party data flow is a sequence triggered by the collection of zero-party data, usually via quiz or survey, and then customers and prospects can be sent personalized content and product recommendations based on information they've provided. This can also act as like a more advanced welcome series if you're using quizzes to build an email list. So this could be a replacement for the regular welcome series. Some brands will use a quiz as their primary email collection tool. If they don't want to do like, the pop-ups for 10% off the first order, they might use a product recommendation quiz. Someone goes through, answers 10 questions about the quiz, gives their email to get the results, and then based on the answers that they provided, they would get one of a number of different flows, zero-party data flows, in order to encourage them to be a customer. So in terms of how this looks, we have like a tutorial on this in the course, and this is like the structure that it goes through. So the e-commerce site will have a quiz landing page on it. They have a bunch of questions, somewhere in the range of 10, and then they'll enter an email address and opt in to see the quiz results. And there'll be a number of different outcomes, and we'll give some examples in a second. And basically, people will get put in different email segments in Klaviyo, depending on their quiz answers and which like outcome they qualified for. So an example would be you're a fitness brand or some kind of brand in the health space. You have this quiz where you're trying to determine people's goals or what they're working towards so that you can recommend specific products for them. You might design a quiz and the outcomes of the quiz could be, hey, this person is more interested in fat burning or fat loss, muscle building or like gaining in the gym, sports performance, or they're just like a complete newbie to the world of health and they just want the basics. They don't really know what they need, but they just want to get off to a good start. And you would design your questions so that you could segment people into one of these buckets. And then each of these would have a separate zero-party data follow-up flow in Klaviyo, so you could speak very specifically to a group of people. Now, these can be pretty high volume. If like a quiz is your main lead gen method for growing your list, or one of them, you could have thousands of people going into these buckets and then through the flows. So if you can segment out and say, hey, we know everybody in this bucket is specifically interested in fat loss because they've told us this in the quiz, then you can build an entire welcome sequence. You might have 500 products, but say 15 of them are focused on fat loss. You can just hone in and send these people a very specific welcome sequence talking about fat loss, sharing educational content, sharing your bestsellers in this category, giving them, strategies and things like that that's super, super specific to them, and never talking to them about your muscle building supplement, your sports equipment that's like completely unrelated to losing fat. You can just hone in on them specifically. And then you have other sequences for people that are interested in, gaining mass or building muscle or whatever. And this is one of the powers of the quiz. And when you combine a quiz with Klaviyo, you can get some really, really great results. And this is like one of my favorite list building methods. Now, in terms of how the Klaviyo setup goes, there's no out-of-the-box setup for this, but there are a number of different ways you can do it. This is the most basic version. So we're going to build a segment for people that land into one of the buckets from our quiz software, whatever we're using, like Octane AI is a pretty good one. And let's say we have a whole bunch of people, they've gone through our quiz, and we know these people are interested in building muscle. So what we're going to do is we're going to build a Klaviyo flow triggered by zero-party data that gives them everything they need to know related to our products about building muscle. So this is basically going to thank them for taking the quiz. It's going to say, hey, recognize you're interested in building muscle. Here are our best sellers. Maybe we're going to do some more social proof around reviews for these products. Maybe we're going to say, hey, the special offer that we've given you off muscle building supplements is about to expire. Maybe we'll share some guides on building muscle, educational content, or whatever. But the point is, somebody comes into our brand for the first time, they go through the quiz, they say, hey, I want to build muscle, and they immediately go down this kind of version of a welcome sequence that is very, very tailored for their specific needs, instead of being shown every product that this brand offers, 90% of which might be completely irrelevant for them. And the way that these flows can be set up, you can have a whole bunch of branches in the same flow if you want, for different kind of interests, or you can have a number of different flows. You could have a weight loss flow, fat loss flow, a beginner like gym goer flow, a muscle building flow, or whatever. And as people take the quiz, they get put into different ones based on their answers. And this is pretty powerful. You see a lot of brands doing this, especially in like beauty and cosmetics, supplements, anything where there's a lot of questions about products on like big product ranges and things like that. We have a whole ton of examples in the course of like how to do this as well. So that was the basic tutorial on Klaviyo flows. Those are 7 of the best flows that I see working for a lot of brands of all different kinds of sizes in all different kinds of markets. Obviously, there are tons more. There are so many flows that I didn't cover in this video just for the sake of time. We will be building out more specific videos for the flows that we've covered and some other flows on this channel. Check out the Klaviyo playlist. And of course, tons more detail and instructions included in our Klaviyo course, along with our agency services consulting and kind of like done with you coaching if you really want to dive deep into Klaviyo as well. So check all of that out in the description. I hope you found this video on 7 of the best Klaviyo flows helpful. Ask any questions in the comments. I'll answer them all. Hit the subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.